So before the season started, I was one of the few people that did say the Hornets were actually going to suck with or without LaMelo Ball. And as a big LaMelo Ball fan, that was a really hard thing for me to say. Again, I have met LaMelo Ball in real life. I have been a huge fan of him. You know, watching him play in Australia and watching him come down here and give our league an actual go when a lot of people wouldn't have at the time was, honestly, it was an honor. It was a really big thing. So again, I'm not a LaMelo hater at any means or anything like that, but I did see the truth in what was going on with that team, and I did not like it at all. Again, I know a lot of people were pretty optimistic on them before the season started, but it is one of the things where I was kind of like, before the season started, I don't think the Hornets are going to do anything, and I actually think they're going to be a bottom 5 team in the league. And yes, you heard it, I said bottom 5 team in the league, and I am pretty proud of myself to say that I actually believe, look, I think I was right when it does come to this. If you do look at the standings right now, even though LaMelo Ball has missed like most of the season, they do have the 3rd worst record in the league at 4-14, and even with LaMelo back, I really don't know if LaMelo could have really stopped what was going on to this team. I think LaMelo could have for sure made them like 7-11 potentially, which would practically still put them bottom 10, but I don't necessarily know if he could have done much more. So in saying this, it does look like the Charlotte Hornets are going to potentially blow it up and trade a lot of guys. We've heard a lot of rumors that PJ Washington has already been put on the trade block. He became the starting power forward pretty much for the Hornets this season. We've also heard reports say that Gordon Hayward now is going to be on the trade block, and that's kind of what this video is going to be talking about today, is the recent report that does suggest that the Miami Heat and Dallas Mavericks are both interested in trading for Gordon Hayward, and this is all being reported by Sean Devaney. Now, I genuinely believe, as I said, it is time for the Charlotte Hornets to blow it up. Before I get into what I think about those teams, you know, being interested in Gordon Hayward, I would like to say it is time to trade Gordon Hayward. First and foremost, he does have 2 years left running on his deal. I know he's injured a fair bit, but he actually still has played a decent amount of this season, where he's actually averaging a really cool stat line of 17 points per game on 40% from 3. If you sent him to a team where he could be the 3rd/4th option, I still believe he would actually be putting up the exact same amount of stats, because Gordon Hayward is one of those few players in the NBA that actually still average near all-star numbers when being a ladder option and actually feeding off a playmaker. For example, if LaMelo Ball was on the team right now, Hayward would still be averaging 17. There's a chance he could be even averaging more. If you sent him to a different team where he's got playmakers around him right now, he would still be averaging the same, if not more. The only fault on Gordon Hayward is his defense at time, but also the fact that he's injured like 35 to 40% of the time, which just sucks. Again, as I said, PJ Washington looks like he's going to be potentially getting traded. He's a player who will be a restricted free agent, I believe, and it doesn't look like the Hornets really have much intention in re-signing him. Again, he is averaging a pretty nice stat line of 16 points per game, but those 16 points are not really that efficient. He's kind of only doing it because, again, LaMelo is out. And you know this is not efficient because he is shooting a high number of threes this year, but only averaging 32% from 3. I've watched PJ Washington play, and I just don't know if I really like it at the moment. He's better served off as a role player, and that 15 points per game I don't think is going to be fooling really too many people. Kelly Oubre is also playing out of his mind right now and will be a free agent, averaging nearly 20 points per game. Could definitely get a lot of value around him in the league. And I think Mason Plumlee, it's time to move on. He'd actually be a really nice, serviceable backup big in the NBA, just like how he was on Denver. Again, averaging a cool 9.5 points per game on 8.5 rebounds. For them, it's time to start Nick Richards, who has been really underrated for them this season. And I think give players like Kai Jones much more minutes. And, of course, eventually Mark Williams. So that's what I would do if I was them. Would I trade for Gordon Hayward if I was the Miami Heat? There, first and foremost, I'm going to say no. I don't really think that Gordon Hayward fits necessarily what the Miami Heat are. When I look at the Miami Heat, I think of a very big defensive team that really goes about their game exactly like that. Not just that, what I think the Miami Heat really need is, I think definitely moving on from Kyle Lowry so you can have the ball 100% in Jimmy Butler's hands. That's the obvious one. And then, of course, bringing in a starting power forward. They've had to start dudes like Nikola Jovic, who's just a young rookie who should not be starting so far. So again, bringing in a dude like Jay Crowder would make 100% more sense than bringing in a guy like Gordon Hayward. And then I think moving on from Kyle Lowry needs to be done. But of course, I think they're eventually going to get to that. So again, Miami, it doesn't make any sense. He doesn't fit their defense. Not just that, they don't really need a small forward. I guess it would make sense to bring in a small forward, especially if you move Butler back to kind of that point forward type of role that he played before Lowry was there. But again, they need to prioritize a power forward more than that. So I just don't think it makes much sense. And he's not a good defender, which the Miami Heat absolutely love and fuel their whole entire system around. While if I was the Dallas Mavericks, I would 100% be looking to try and trade for Gordon Hayward, even if I do have to give up a protected first round pick, because they've got dudes right now who aren't playing good that could add some type of value to a different team. Tim Hardaway, he hasn't been good. He's shooting a very inefficient 11.5 points per game, only shooting 33% from 2-point shots, an average of 32% in field goals as well. Just terrible numbers right there. And then you got Davis Bertans, who they aren't even literally playing this season. If I was them, I would go up to the Charlotte Hornets and say, look, we want Gordon Hayward. What would it take? And if that was the Charlotte Hornets to move on from Gordon Hayward's contract, yes, I think bringing in a Davis Bertans, a first round pick, and Tim Hardaway would actually not even be a bad idea. Again, even if you want to blow it up, doing what Utah kind of did, where you still bring in assets, makes sense to me. If you were able to bring in a first round pick, that's first of all a W by the Charlotte Hornets. But when we look at Dallas, I do consider Davis Bertans being one of the worst contracts in the league. Also, Tim Hardaway being a pretty bad contract with how bad he's been. Again, I know he's got an injury, which does suck, so I do feel bad for him. But this trade realistically makes both teams better. The Hornets bring in a first round pick, which can help them rebuild on the run. They also bring in two former really quality role players that I think can get back to their best and help LaMelo Ball. Again, Davis Bertans would realistically fit the role that PJ Washington is supposed to be as a high volume, nice 3-point shooter. So that would be cool. Plus, Tim Hardaway would be a really nice scorer off the bench. I think he would fulfill what James Bouknight was supposed to be. And if anyone has watched James Bouknight play, I know he's only in his second season, but goddamn is he bad. I don't know if he'll ever be anything too much. And so again, I do think this trade does help the Hornets. You bring in two really nice players to put around LaMelo. Look, they're not great contracts, but they will expire one day. And you also bring in a nice first round pick for a dude like Gordon Hayward, who's still on 2 years anyway. So you bring in a couple dudes who might be on 2 to 3 years, but that first round pick helps. Depth comes in too. While if you're the Dallas Mavericks, I like Gordon Hayward on this team. I think he's a really nice 3-point shooter you put around Luka Doncic. He's a really nice off-ball player who will still score you 17 points per game and would realistically be, tied for their second best scorer, which is Dinwiddie and Wood, both on 17. So the deal makes sense for both teams if you want to look at it like that. Again, Charlotte don't have a lot going for them right now, so bringing those two role players in would still be pretty nice. Plus, you bring in a first round pick. It just makes sense. Again, it doesn't necessarily fit the narrative that they should be playing young players like James Bouknight, but I've watched James Bouknight play, and I don't think that guy even deserves the minutes, even though that sounds really harsh. He just hasn't been good. But of course, if you haven't already, please make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel for all those NBA content and NBA news. Don't forget to comment your thoughts and opinions down below. Would you guys trade for Gordon Hayward if you were the Miami Heat or Dallas Mavericks? What would you guys do? Definitely let me know. Of course, go ahead and subscribe to my gaming channel, my RL/long channel. All of them will be getting linked down below. But as I was saying, please make sure to leave a like, subscribe, and comment. And I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.